A young Louisville woman survived flooding in North Carolina and is back in town now after her family brought her home.
Our Norman Seawright joins us in the studio with her story. Hey, Norman.
Hey, Jennifer, Rick. Now, imagine moving to North Carolina to start a new phase in your life just weeks before Hurricane Helene moved inland, bringing destruction with it. A Louisville native lived through it this past weekend, and she described what that experience has left her with.
I think everyone knew that, there was this big storm and that it was coming to us.
Elizabeth Wilson says everyone knew the storm was coming to Banner Elk, North Carolina, but she wasn't prepared for what she saw when she woke up Friday morning.
Immediately looked out the window and the back creek is flooded.
Not just the creek, all of downtown Banner Elk was flooded.
The peak of my fear, for sure, was, so I hear this big noise and this spewing, this propane tank. I could smell the gas.
Elizabeth still had cell service and was able to communicate with her mother, Kristen.
It's that I want to talk to her, I want to hear everything, but then I wanted her to save, her cell phone battery.
Kristen and her husband drove from Louisville, braving detours, mudslides, and broken roads to bring Elizabeth home.
What normally takes 5.5 hours took over 11.
Elizabeth says among the devastation and trauma, she found what she'd been looking for when she first arrived: community.
I met more people, basically, in those few days than I had, the 3 weeks that I was there.
Yeah, it was a very tearful reunion, and her neighbors had been so sweet to her, so we were all just hugging everybody. And
while Kristen is rightfully worried about Elizabeth's well-being,
we just want to help her process it on her own timeline.
Elizabeth is more worried about the well-being of her new home.
As soon as I can get transportation back there and the water's on, I'll be back because, I want to help.
Elizabeth also told us that living through this event might have changed her career path. She says she could consider becoming some kind of first responder. Live in studio, Norman Seawright, Wlky News.
So glad she's okay. Thank you, Norman.
A young Louisville woman returns home after surviving Hurricane Helene's devastation. Elizabeth Wilson had only been in Banner Elk, North Carolina for 3 weeks before Helene hit the southeast. She says the community she built in a few short days helped her through the ordeal. She hopes to return soon to help rebuild the town she now considers home.
You think about, the community that is there and the way that they are having each other's backs and helping each other. Like, strangers are coming from, close places where they can with supplies and chainsaws and all of these things to try and help. And, when you think about it from that perspective, it's beautiful.
More than 150 people were killed by Hurricane Helene. President Biden plans to survey the damage in North and South Carolina tomorrow.
A young Louisville woman returns home after surviving Hurricane Helene's devastation. Elizabeth Wilson had only lived in Banner Elk, North Carolina for 3 weeks before Helene hit the southeast. But she says the community that she built in a few short days helped her through the ordeal. She hopes to return soon to help rebuild the town that she now considers home.
As soon as I can get transportation back there and the water's on, I'll be back because, I want to help.
At least 162 people were killed by Hurricane Helene. President Biden plans to survey the damage in North and South Carolina tomorrow.